We're really trying to use it for everything from capturing more leads, to training our team better, standardizing operations. We created our own AI voice agent that books jobs directly into our CRM, automating
hang
follow-ups.
on, whoa, back up. You got a voice agent that can actually book jobs?
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Welcome out to another episode of the PMP Industry Insider Podcast, where we take a look at what is changing in the pest and lawn industries, and we take you to the front lines to those that are driving those changes. I'm Donnie Shelton, owner of Triangle Home Services, which has Triangle Pests as well as Triangle Lawn. And with me, as always, and I can't think of a good intro for Dan, but the man who needs no introduction and who is what did AI call you?
Something about the king of all numbers or something like that.
The king of all pest control numbers. Dan, would you like to say good morning, talk about our guest and our sponsors?
So good morning, Dan Gordon, PCO Bookkeepers, M&A Specialists. We do CFO work, tax preparation, exit planning services for the pest and lawn industry. And before we talk about the sponsors, I'd like to introduce our topic and guest for today. Our guest is longtime client and friend, Brett Lieberman, co-owner of My Pest Pros. And we're going to be talking about practical AI lessons from mid-size pest company. If you listen to our podcast, you know that Donnie's a total AI geek. Well, I was talking to Brett not too long ago, and he was telling me what he's doing with AI for the regular man. And so I thought it was pretty interesting. And so asked him if he would talk to our audience about it. So let's talk about our sponsors and peer group. Are you doing that or am I doing that?
You know what? It doesn't really matter. How about
why don't you do it? Because,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So our first sponsor is Coalmarch. They've been a sponsor since we've started this podcast. If you need a partner for fueling your team's growth as well as far as in the pest and lawn industries, Coalmarch can help you scale smarter. And for the bean counters, we like for you to go over to coalmarch.com/podcast. You'll get your first month free. And Dan will get credit for that. And I don't know what that turns into, but maybe
I get nothing.
Maybe it's a steak night at Denny's, or I don't know. Anyway,
nothing.
Also,
they have steak at Denny's. So
maybe okay. I don't know.
Also, big sandwich.
A huge fan. PestSure is our next sponsor. For more than 40 years, PestSure has been protecting pest control companies with specialized insurance programs because no one understands the pest control industry better. You can learn more at pestsure.com. Also, I'm also a client of this company, but Voice for Pest. Big fan of Voice for Pest. They deliver the only phone solution designed specifically for pest and lawn care professionals. From powerful AI features to deep integrations with most industry CRMs, discover why leading companies rely on Voice for Pest at voiceforpest.com/podcast. And that is another bean counter URL. So we always appreciate it if you visit that. And our newest sponsor, which I'm super excited about, is Forshaw. Again, a customer of them as well. If anyone's seen a trend here, you've nailed it.
Donnie tends to squeeze all of his vendors to.
Right. Yeah. So Forshaw, a leading family-owned and operating distributor serving pest management professionals since 1961, their focus on people, partners, and performance is what's inspired Foresight, which again we use, and that's Forshaw's inventory management software. It's built to bring clarity, control inventory, and support smarter operations and decisions. You can learn more at forshaw.com. And with that, we are grateful for our sponsors. I think we're all through that. And then finally, if you're not in one of our peer groups, highly recommend that you do that. Believe it or not, Mr. Brett Lieberman here, who's on our podcast, is also a member of one of our peer groups. Dan and I just got back from a peer group meeting last week. It was probably one of the best ones I have ever been to, and I'm not blowing that up. I had lots of meetings after I got back from that peer group. We're making a few changes here at Triangle as a result of that. But our peer groups are facilitated by industry veteran David Billingsley. Please visit pmpindustryinsider.com/peer groups, or you can go back and listen to episode 238 with Caleb Cunningham from Justice Pest Services, where he gives you an overview of what it's like to be a peer group member.
Holy
Dan,
smokes.
I know. Do you want to go ahead and knock out the intro here, and then we're going to get to Brett?
Well, before you get the intro, though, isn't the next week's peer group going to be the best one you've ever been to? And
Well, it
we're
hasn't
visiting you
happened
next
yet.
week.
You are visiting me next week. So we do have one of our peer groups coming to Triangle proper next week, and we are cleaning up and cleaning out and doing everything that we can to be a good host for them. And we're excited about him here at Triangle so we can walk them around and learn from them, not from us. So, all right, Mr. Dan, you want to introduce Mr. Brett here, and then we'll get going with our
Yes.
questions. I
By
have
the way, I
lots, by the
just
way.
learned something about Brett on this outline that I didn't know. Um, as I said, Brett is a co-owner of My Pest Pros, Quality Pro certified pest control company serving Northern Virginia and Maryland. This is what I didn't know. I thought you were a teacher, Brett. It says
Oh.
that you are a former journalist, president of Maryland Pest Control Association, board member of the Virginia Pest Management Association, and also a PCOB client and member of our peer groups. What did you journalize?
Well, that's it. Listen, I'm
Journalize.
looking on the front. Yeah, let him go. Anyway, I'm going to be quiet.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want me as a teacher necessarily.
Uh,
Now, I was a journalist for about close to 20 years. Started working for a paper in Pennsylvania right out of school, covered politics, government there. And then I was in DC for close to 15 years, politics, government, national elections, covered everything from military issues to nuclear power to just elections.
who'd you write for?
Worked for Newhouse newspapers for the most part. They were a chain of papers. The Newhouse family owns Condé Nast magazines, big chunk of Discover Channel. You've probably heard of them from those, but everything from in your native state, or I think it's native, is it? But New Jersey, Newark Star Ledger, Cleveland
Oh, that's
Plain
a big one.
Dealer.
Yeah.
They owned about 3 dozen daily papers around the country.
And you were
And
syndicated, or?
some of it, I mostly wrote for one of their papers in Pennsylvania, the Harrisburg Patriot News, but my stories were all over the place, depending on what the topic was, if it was of interest.
Interesting.
You know what? That makes sense now because, I mean, if you ever sit in a meeting with Brett, he's pretty articulate. And so now I get it. Now I understand.
You give me way too much credit, but actually, I'm a high fact finder in a Colby assessment, so I'm always asking a lot of questions.
Uh-huh.
But I think it does kind of fit to that.
It does fit to that.
Why?
So I'm looking here on your background, and it says that you were an embedded as a reporter in Iraq. Tell me about this. Like, this is crazy. Yeah.
So that was during the I guess it was 2001, 2022, 3, whatever it was when we went over there.
First one.
I went over with
First George Bush.
reserve. No, second.
Okay.
The first one was 91.
Oh, right,
I remember
right,
when I
right,
was in
right.
high
So
school.
this was 2001, 2002, 3, whatever in there. I forget exactly. Probably 2001, I guess. I spent about a month in Iraq with a Marine battalion. More covering, human interest type stories with what it was like there. And those stories did get, wide play because there were Marines from that. It was a reserve battalion, but they were from New York, Pennsylvania, and I'm forgetting where the third group was. But, So they got a lot of wide coverage of that.
Did you see anything fun or good or crazy?
Crazy. I'm not sure about fun. But it was, reality was in 2020 hindsight, we weren't that close to action, but there were shootings, there were some deaths, so, unfortunately, none of the Marines, but there was some, sniper fires and different things like that. And, 2020 hindsight, we were relatively safe, where we were relatively, but, at the time, we didn't know that. And there was a lot of concern at the time about everything.
So I'm gonna ask you this question because it's the obvious question that I'm sure everyone's thinking, and then we're going to talk about AI, which is how in the world did you go from being a journalist to having a pest control company? And after that, we're going to get into some AI stuff. I'm just curious because I get to ask this question a lot. For me personally, given my background, now I have to know yours.
Yeah, it would never be something I would have expected. I'd always had an interest in business and never had the opportunity maybe, but also just the motivation to shift gears and do things. But my hand was forced in 2008. Newhouse decided to close their Washington bureau where I was located. So laid everybody off. And, I had some other opportunities in journalism, but I, really wasn't excited about what I was seeing there or where I was maybe headed.
Did you see the writing on the wall?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, ha ha ha. That's like a Dan joke. Come on now.
That is a dad joke.
That's a dad joke.
It is. But I wasn't liking the direction journalism was going, and and that was 2008, so it's well before what we're seeing now, and was frustrated and did the what I'll probably say is the easy thing at the time. Went into communications and PR, but also didn't like what I was doing there. I was worked for health insurance association, and it was just slower paced than I was used to, and I wanted to get things done. Got an MBA and a master's around that time, mostly out of boredom, and decided to do something with it. Again, this is a really weird trajectory. A friend and I, we were looking at just different businesses, franchises, non-franchises. And one day I got this email from a mosquito franchise. And I shot him an email and said, "Hey, Dan," his name was Dan as well, not Dan Gordon. "Hey, we should do mosquitoes, LOL." We're like, "Oh, freaking mosquitoes, right?" And we're like, you know what? There are these, chains of franchises out there like Mosquito Squad that are very successful. And a lot of families use them. And we looked into it. We ended up not buying that franchise of the company we looked at because territories. We wanted to be somewhere close, and we bought a different one. And the good and bad about that is it gave me an opportunity. Somebody had to run the day to day, and I was in a toxic work environment, so went to do the day to day. But the plan was to ultimately expand beyond mosquito and not just the seasonal business. And after about a year or so, maybe even less, we got out of that. I actually bought him out, so I was 100% owner of the franchise. And then we started blending in other pests, but it was kind of confusing. The franchise was called Mosquito Terminators, which does not exist anymore. They were bought and sold a few times, and I don't remember who they're owned by now. And it was Mosquito Terminators, but we'll also get rid of your mice. It's a little confusing. So eventually, we started My Pest Pros, and a number of years later, my wife joined, and she's the other co-owner. And now we do a lot of mosquito, but everything else, pest, termite. What we don't do is lawn and wildlife.
Wow. Okay.
And you may see Brett's truck in front of the Capitol Hilton at Legislative Day because he's the only guy I know who can find a parking space there, which is which is good for
he spent some
marketing.
time in that town, so
That's it.
he knows the tricks.
He knows how to do it.
Well, Dan, that might be strategic. We've actually gotten business from Legislative Day.
Oh, I believe you have. Yeah, sure.
Me parking the vehicle on K Street.
Uh-huh.
And we've had people come up to us, and we've got some restaurants out of that.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's get over to AI.
Hey, before we do that, there was a dad joke at the Q2 group that I think Lair Burton, we get to give him the credit for this one. What did the cannibal say after he ate the clown?
I can't believe you're going to say that.
Tastes a little funny.
Oh, gosh. All right. Moving on. We're going to get into AI now. Okay. So, Brett, I have always been impressed, in your use of technology. I know I was sitting in one of our peer group meetings, and you were showing us how you were using Glide and a few other tools. But now you're kind of getting into AI like most of us. And I'm just curious to hear, what are you working on as far as AI in your own business, and kind of how are you using it in your business? Obviously I know everyone, who's listening to this is using it in some form or fashion, but what have you guys done? Where are you seeing the benefit of using AI for your business?
Just most operations across the board, we're using something, again, it's very like we throws in the ChatGPT. How can I say this better? We do that like everybody else does. Mm-hmm. But we're really trying to use it for everything from capturing more leads to training our team better, standardizing operations. We created our own AI voice agent that books jobs directly into our CRM. We're working on some automating follow-ups.
Hang on. Whoa. Back up. You got a voice agent that can actually book jobs?
Yep, she does pretty well, Sydney.
Tell me more.
Well, so okay. Wasn't
Did
really...
you do that, or is that one of the because they're guys who are
we did it on our own, and it's still a work in progress. She's not perfect, couple months ago, she sold a really good job, except it was in Texas. So sometimes she goes off the script. So we had to call back that client, and we did refer them to somebody else. But no, I wasn't really happy with the quality of what I was seeing out there. And again, like, Donnie, I kind of go down these rabbit holes where I love this stuff. So I get into it and I'll disappear for a weekend, stay up to 3 a.m. doing things and just getting into it. And, one thing leads to another. And, so built out Sydney. And we've got two other AIs that I'm working on. One is for internal training of our customer service sales team. So a lot of times when we'll do practice calls with them, everyone gets nervous. But this one would, act as an, customer or a prospective customer being frustrated, angry, or even just saying, "Where's my tech?" And just so they could role play a little bit, and then we could we'll have it analyze it'll analyze for us the call, the performance, see how they did. Working on another one where actually the other one's ready. I just haven't been allowed to deploy it.
What do you mean allowed?
Dan, you're married.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it there because I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
She's going to listen to this. The other one is, one of the biggest problems most companies have is hiring. And we have this agent that would, as soon as you apply, would respond to you as a text message. Her name's Carly. Hey, thanks for applying. I'm an AI agent. I could, would basically, I'm obviously not doing a great job here saying what she would say, but the first part of our screening process. So if someone's sitting there clicking at 2 a.m. and applies, we know they're awake. She would text them, but it could happen any time of the day, obviously. They could call into her, just answer some basic screening questions, and she could answer some basic questions for them about the application process. And then we'll have somebody, a human, review it. She scores the calls as well, but we're not letting her knock somebody out or anything like that. Human would review it and go from there. Just trying to, again, take away the pain points, whatever we could do. And reaching people when they apply, it's been a pain point for a lot of companies. So doing that.
So this is kind of interesting. You're talking about kind of rolling your own. For me personally, I used to roll my own everything, and as I've gotten older, I don't know, maybe I've gotten lazier, but I look for off the shelf solutions and things that can scale. And I mean, obviously, there's things I'm thinking about. Have you thought about that, or are you more like, nah, I don't really want to wait on that. I want to.
Well, there is a difference, Donnie. You go to bed at 7 o'clock at night. He stays up till 3 a.m. and does this stuff.
There is a difference.
So that's a huge difference.
That's a very when he said up to 3 a.m, I was like, I don't know if you saw me wince, but I was like, oh,
not regularly because my bedtime's usually 9. So it's been a mix of both. But on the AI voice, I just haven't been impressed, and then I just like tinkering.
Yeah,
so it's a combination
for sure. It's almost like a
I'll tell you the most impressive thing that I saw, which is what spurred me to ask Brett to come on, was we all of our clients get a little deck at the end of each month with their financials and whatnot, and Brett formed an AI board of directors with each functional area as a board member, put our information in, and said, okay. Why don't you talk about what you did? It's brilliant.
Yeah. So actually, I've got this idea. It wasn't my idea. I'll be honest. I got it from an article I read. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal about somebody who kind of did something similar, but more of as a sounding board. And I thought, right around that time, we'd received our monthly reports from PCO bookkeepers. And I'm like, wonder what they would say. So I started, I created this, and it was a, CEO, CFO, the chief marketing officer, I forget all the other roles, and created personas for each of them. So they could question whatever we want to do. So we might be saying, hey, we're looking to expand to a new area, or we're looking at increasing our digital ads, or whatever it might be. Here's an idea we're thinking of. What do you think about that? And they go back, they'll give me a whole scenario and usually rip me a new one on a lot of things. And it's pretty blunt. My AI has taken on its own personality a little bit. And maybe it's my personality.
Probably looks in the mirror.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it's been pretty interesting. It's been pretty dead on, and some good. And
Oh yeah, it was I was floored. The whole board of directors idea was pretty cool.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't do it enough. I don't run. So basically, we created a GPT agent, which you could do, and you could load a lot of information about your company in there. If you do use Chat GPT or any of these, I think Donna, you've said this before. Get the paid versions, so your
Mhm.
information is not shared out publicly.
Mhm.
And I don't do that one enough. Might be because it hurts my feelings too much.
Well, I mean, but you bring up a good point, and this is something that I see a lot when I talk to folks, which is, there's the surface level use of AI, which I think a lot of folks are. I mean, I don't want to say it's old hat, but most people do, right? I mean, you've got email, co-pilots, you've got all kinds of things that are kind of going to help you write and articulate better. But seeing AI as a strategic decision, platform is very. I mean, listen, I have been training our leaders on it, like using it, like, okay, we have this marketing idea. Okay, let's flesh it out some more. And using and leveraging AI to help you make strategic decisions is I think probably, some people do it, a lot of people don't. But I know for me personally, like last year we went on a big vacation. I had a 16-hour flight. Both ways I spent almost the entire time training my AI on my persona, what I like, what I don't like, in kind of all areas of my life. And so when I ask it a question or whenever I say, hey, look, this is what I'm thinking of, all that context is there. And to your point, Brett, my AI, depending on what I'm talking about, can be very blunt or it can be, maybe it worries about my
So
ego.
let
Who
me
knows? I don't know.
understand this. You have in your personal life an AI sounding board that
Hmm.
replaced your wife for all.
No,
Uh,
no, nothing can replace that. I
oh,
call her
okay.
Princess.
I'm
It's
just
like
trying to.
yeah,
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
So, but I mean, it's a very good point that you're making here, Brett, which is the idea that, as a business owner, there's a lot of things that I don't really know. And it is a sounding board. I don't always take its advice, but the fact is it may trigger a thought or an idea. And it's not that difficult to do this, but in any case, if you're listening, I think what Brett is suggesting here is something that we should all do. And more importantly, train your managers and your leaders to do it because it's going to help them make better decisions as well if they are setting it up properly and using data and know the questions to ask. So,
The
um,
prompting is the key thing because
yeah,
it's like your CRM for whether you use Field Routes, PestPack, or whatever. If you got dirty data, you put it in, you're going to get dirty data out. And they're each a little different. My ChatGPT is very flattering to me. Everything I do is that's great. Claude seems to call me out more.
uh
There
huh,
was
Who's
something we were trying to do with I think it was a press release or something like that. We were something. Oh, it was an article of some kind. ChatGPT was phenomenal, and Claude called me out that there's no news value here. There's nothing. I mean, it was blunt. I'm like, but honestly, it was honest. It was true.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really wouldn't. I couldn't
And
argue with it.
and just for those that are listening, there are tools out there where you can send a prompt to multiple platforms. You can send it to Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini all from one, and it'll give you kind of a meta analysis of all those. But we're not going to get into that now. Let's talk about you. You've implemented other AI initiatives in your company. So you said that you had someone that was working with recruiting. You have another one that's well, I guess you haven't really launched that one yet. We don't want to get into that. And then you have another one that's booking sales. Where else have you been using AI? And kind of some value add that you've seen in your own business that
Yeah.
for you that you got going on.
So the phone system we use has AI built into it, and it has AI scorecards and CSAT, which is like customer satisfaction. I think survey, not surveys, but it measures by tone and I don't know what else. But we wanted to take it further. So last week, I don't know where I got this idea. This is literally new. Analyzed and downloaded 1.3 million lines of call transcripts
Hmm.
and which took a while. We had to end up bucketing it into months and weeks because of it was just killing everything. And we had it analyze the call transcripts and came up with 69,000 questions. that customers asked. And the goal here was trying to, and we ended up consolidating it down to 91 categories. The goal was to try to figure out what are prospective customers asking, what aren't we answering, how are people doing at these things, and looking for areas to improve. And what really surprised me was what do you think the most common question was?
Was it, I don't know if it would be price.
Would it be safety of materials or?
Well, I was thinking my three guesses were going to be price, safety, like you said, and where's my tech? It came down to be process. How do you do? What do you do? Depending on how you categorize it, I could go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy things. What are you going to do?
Differently.
And it was interesting grading our staff on where there were missed opportunities and where we needed to explain better, and also where this could come for training or technicians, but then marketing. So we're just in the beginning phases of that, analyzing that and trying to figure out how we use this. But those are some of the ways, again, training techs to be able to explain things better, what they're doing and why. And then the customer service agents, when they're talking with the clients, explaining better what we're going to be doing rather than just spewing out pricing or packages and things like that.
So for our listeners, I just want to highlight what Brett's saying here because it's a very important point, which is where he's using data to solve business issues. And AI obviously can do a lot more than you could before. Because you saying this, Dan, you saw this last week at our peer group meeting. For us, we've been using it for, I went out and found a bunch of research on what customers consider to be great service, like what are the factors. And there's this research study that got it down to 8 critical things. And so we did the exact same thing. We took all of our call transcripts and we had it categorize it towards issues that fall within that and within those 8. And within that 8, it showed us like, here's the biggest areas that we could improve that perception wise, our customers would see as a benefit to our business. And believe it or not, and I hate to admit this, and I'm so frustrated by the answer, but you guys, Dan knows this, right? Well, actually, Dan was probably sleeping when I was presenting, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway.
No, well, never.
But what's funny is the AI identified, at least for us, our number one issue is that we were difficult to do business with. And I was like floored by that answer, right? But it's true. We were talking through like, oh, well, the scheduling constraints. And like those are the biggest issues that our customers were saying to us. So my point is that if you're listening to this, you don't, I know people talk about AI agents and all this process, but at the end of the day, when you can feed it a ton of data and ask it some very strategic questions, the amount of data that it can process and categorize and really filter in to dial in onto exactly what, it's just amazing. So,
what's pretty interesting is that you're looking at it, both of you guys are looking at for your company specific, but I was at the WorkWave conference a few weeks back, and kudos to them. I've always wondered where all we're going with all this data. There's so much data out there with the kids are wearing whoops and all this stuff, and who cares about all this data? But what they've done is they've created AI agents that will go into, I don't know how many billions of dollars run through PestPack and Real Green, but you'll be able to query industry data. How should you, how do you stack up against the rest of the industry? Like our cost study, but they, their data set is much bigger than ours, and we actually they grabbed us and they want to use some of our cost information. But it's so amazing what where was it going? Too much data, but now you have this thing that can put the data together and draw some conclusions. It's so interesting.
Well, but to what Donnie was saying even before, like he likes to do it himself, or not do it himself, sorry. Go out there. There are systems out there on the market that are great. And you can go down these rabbit holes. I think if, last week, Sunday through Tuesday, I was down a major rabbit hole in these 1.3 million lines of transcripts and kept asking it different questions, coming up with different reports, and you could drown in data. And
how long does it take to, so you've downloaded 1.3 million lines. Like now you ask it a question. What kind of lag
Doesn't
time is there to
That wasn't so bad. It was more the downloading and converting the data into usable formats, I guess you could say. It just kept timing out or overloading. Um, and then trying to fix, okay, this is not, it keeps crashing. What's a reasonable bucket that I can download at a time? That was
Mhm.
more the issue. It goes through it, but it also has a memory. So it's established a lot of that there. And then I created within other tools projects to retain that and work off of markdown documents. So it has a summary of a lot of the information.
Mhm. So if you had to, what you're doing sounds like a lot of fun, sounds like a lot of R&D. Have you gotten a return on investment from it? Is there an ROI that you could measure yet, or it's still,
You sound like some of my team. Now, there is like, so even like Sydney, our AI agent who takes calls, it's definitely saved time. Can I pinpoint it on a dollar? No. She's made sales. Um,
well,
she's
that's measurable.
It is. And it's better than going to some of the overflow services we've tried in the past or voicemail, being able to respond, get things done. Um, Her call summaries, which get pushed into Pestback for us, are good. So we have that the staff, even if they have to call somebody back, they know exactly what they're calling back and saves time. There definitely has been. Can I pinpoint the exact dollar or anything on ROI? No, but it saved a lot of time just in
Hmm.
general.
Donnie, have
Well,
you been
and
able to measure
and
anything?
that's a
Mon
difficult question because I don't necessarily do that, but like I kind of view it like training. Training is one of those things where if you don't do it, there's definitely a penalty that the business pays. But tying like I did this training and I generated X dollars in profit.
Mm-mm,
That's
that's hard.
difficult to, yeah, it is, right? And so let's go back to the example that Brett just talked about in terms of finding the key things that customers are asking and then retraining his team based on those objections, right? How do you put a number on that? I don't know. I mean, listen, this is one of those things where I think even if I tried to put a number on it, I mean, you could do things like sales and leads
Yeah,
and
sales is easy.
right, but like these more strategic moves, um, it's really difficult to do that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to keep doing it. It's like training, for example. Like I'm
Oh
not going
yeah.
to, well, I can't tie it to a dollar, so we're not going to do training anymore, right?
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
I just would never ever do that. But um, all right, Brett, we're getting here to the end. I don't know. I just have one last question, and this is have you put your Notre Dame's crystal ball out. 3 to 5 years. What are you doing for Pest Pros as far as AI? What are you thinking? What's in the back of your brain of like where would you like to see this go, and where do you see the opportunity for your business, and specifically for those that are listening?
I don't know that it's going to replace people. It is. I mean, there's a lot of these entry level type positions, but I think
Yeah.
it's going to shift what we do with our people to
Mhm.
give them the tools, the information, take away, some of the menial work, the task work. So maybe they're more checking there, and we have them on the phones with people more, or doing quality checks in person or on the phone rather than running a report because we could have the AI run that report. I think just it's going to be a lot more automated, and I think Dan mentioned PestPack. Every software out there is
Yeah,
probably
they're all going to
looking at
do
it.
it. Yep.
Yeah, they have to, and it's great tools. But I think it's going to be a lot more information, and how we manage that is going to be the challenge.
Mm.
The,
Mm.
the only thing I got to add to this is that, I'm sure you guys have saw that, the new Gemini came out and I'm a major fan. Believe it or not, Dan, this is one time that you and I are probably going to agree because I've traditionally been a chat person and you've
I've
been a
been
Gemini
Gemini
person.
since the beginning. Yeah.
Right. Well, when Gemini released their new model, the context and capability of it has just been
Mhm.
astounding. And the reason is because it grabs real-time context. It can go in and do real things. Whereas before it was using training data, which creates a problem. And we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier in the podcast. I know we got to close, but just real quick point, which is, AI is only as good as the data that it's been trained on. And so oftentimes people will go to AI and look for answers, but never question, like, how was this trained? What is it trained on? And it's going to give you answers based on that training. I think as AI develops and it's able to get more real-time context, it's only going to get more valuable, which is why I'm a huge Gemini fan
I,
now.
I always ask, where did this come from? Cite
Right.
your
Cite your
that's important.
sources.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, I mean, listen, there's been multiple times I've had AI, pull stuff from, the University of MSU. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I learned about the MSU University the other day at our peer
Yes.
group.
I said it in one of my presentations. I'll just say there's the clean version and there's a not so clean version. The clean
Make
version is
stuff up.
make stuff up is the clean version of that. But in any case, Dan, I mean, Brett, so grateful that you came on to the podcast. It's great seeing you. Look forward to seeing you next week here with the peer group when you guys come in. I had no idea that you were a journalist. It's just hilarious, but I'm not surprised. I'm always grateful to hear about what you're doing. I think it's amazing. And, with that, we're going to sign off. Just a reminder, all the resources and topics that we talked about today are going to be available on the podcast website, pmpindustryinsider.com. Just take a look under show notes. We always appreciate positive feedback because it helps our egos and, we just feel good about that. But if it is a complaint, a concern, and you just generally want to be negative, we ask you to pass that on to Dan. He really appreciates that.
That's right.
We're going to see you all next time. Take care now. Bye-bye.
See ya.